Good morning, everyone. It's morning here. I'm looking at my internet connection, and it looks a little. Normally, it's really big and everything. So I want to. I mean, it's full, and so what I wanted to do today is that if you get some buffering, let me know right away. First of all, how's the sound? Everything working okay in the video? Hey, Dominic and Junior, good to see you. Alexander, how's I think we're having a pretty nice day today. It's early on yet. Hi, Tim. Sounds good. Good. I don't know what's going on with my we've got this we used to have a really bad setup, and then we got this new one, and everything was really good. And so I'm just worried. Like I said, if it starts buffering, let me know right away. Morning, Brian. How you doing? You're just the guy to be here today. Well, let me get started. Uh, what I wanted to do, um, it's nice to see Dominic, you and Alec. We spent a lot of time together at the Watch Show in New York. That was it. That was really great. Okay, all right. Here's what I'm going to do. I want to start off, and I want to read this. This is from the U.S. Attorney's Office, Central District of California. In other words, this is the official release by the Attorney General's office rather than some social media huffing and puffing. Okay. This is U.S. Attorney's Office, Central District of California. Let me get this a little bigger here. Bip, bip. It says Anthony Farr, 35, who until recently lived in downtown Los Angeles, was charged in a federal criminal complaint filed Monday with wire fraud, a felony that carries a statutory maximum sentence of 20 years in federal prison. According to an affidavit filed with the complaint that was unsealed today, Farrer founded a company in Texas in 2017 and opened a location in Beverly Hills in 2022. Farrer used his business to connect purchasers and sellers of high-end watches. He would typically collect a watch from individuals and have them sign a consignment agreement that stipulated he would collect a commission from the sale, typically 5%. So if we're looking at a $20,000 watch, we're talking about $1,000. We're looking at a $5,000 watch. We're looking at about $250. So it depends. It was 5% is a pretty good deal, really. If you go to an auction house, they take it from the buyer, not the seller. They take about 25%. So a 5% profit, you'll say, from handling a consignment is pretty good deal, really. I mean, fairly low. Okay, let me go on with what the attorney office says. The complaint alleges that Farr defrauded victims beginning in late 2022 until the summer of 2023. When he promised customers he would sell their luxury watches on consignment. Rather than remitting the funds back to the customers, less the commission, he kept the proceeds for himself. Farr lived in a luxury rental property and was known to drive a Lamborghini and Ducati motorcycles. He traveled frequently to and engaged in gambling in Las Vegas, according to the complaint. He's posted videos of him losing an incredible amount of money. The complaint further alleges that Farr operated a scheme in a similar manner to a Ponzi scheme and would lull victims into a sense of security by engaging in smaller successful transactions prior to requesting results. Let me point out at the end of this, the thing from the Attorney General's office. He said a criminal complaint contains allegations. All defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. And that's, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about allegations. Now, my own background is in criminology, and some of the aspects, I mean, in fact, very clearly aspects are legal, where a crime isn't a crime if it's not illegal, no matter how banal it is. So what I wanted to talk about was sort of from a more of a criminological than a legal point of view, and also from the victim's point of view. In other words, how is it that a victim would fall for this? Now, let me remind you that one of the more recent Ponzi schemes was done by a guy named Bernard Madoff, who literally raked in billions of dollars from some very sophisticated investors. I mean, this guy used to be on, I think he was on the board of NASDAQ. But anyway, he went on, got away with this for years. And one of the interesting things about this is that this guy Farr had gone on about how he'd been in prison, and his criminal record wasn't, I mean, it was like more stupid crimes, drunk driving and wife beating. Wife beating's not stupid, that's just mean. And a few other things like that. So suddenly, this is what I'm wondering about. Out of the blue, this guy comes and he suddenly knows something about marketing and stuff and watches. And why would anybody send money to a guy or an expensive watch to somebody like that? Now, again, these are allegations, and so we're not dealing with unless he's, I mean, it's not a criminal thing, but there are some actions. So a lot of people feel, well, what they did, they sent in their watches, and that was the last they heard of it. Or the watches they ordered, they paid for, they were sent something that wasn't as good. And so there's a whole bunch of this going on. But I remember, looking at this guy, so who is this guy? I mean, what does he know about horology and watches? Now, let me compare him with another guy who's in business with this, and this is Federico. If any of you've ever dealt with Federico, this guy I never worried about. First of all, you got a history of a guy that had been doing this for a long time for Piaget and their store on Fifth Avenue. He had a lot of experience and so forth. So you got somebody coming out of someplace who knows stuff about watches, where this other guy, sure, he knows about Rolex, but who doesn't? And a few other ones like that. And so why? How did it come about? Not so much that someone like this or some acts like this would occur and suck in so many people. I mean, I don't know. First of all, let me ask if any of you guys were one of his customers, because it looks like he started in 2017, and then the fraud stuff didn't start until 2022. So something, I mean, did he not do well until 2022 and felt he had, or he just wanted to grab all of it? I don't know. Well, let's see what we have to say. Hey, football fan. Let me see who else we got here. Canadian Watchman. They don't have any crime in Canada. They're good folks up there. Hey, Hobby. Rancher, how you doing? Caesar? Hey, Tim. The allegations are true. He preyed on our human nature to be greedy. 5% commission. That's part of it. Yeah. One thing, I went and took a look at the website. The website's still up. They have the Timepiece Gentleman website. You can go there and take a look at it. I don't know if you know or remember this or recall this or not. Um, for the most part, watch companies have the worst websites. I mean, they're really terrible websites. They're just not very good. Um, and one of the things about the Timepiece Gentleman's website, it's really a good website. I mean, it's very easy to find stuff and everything else. And I'm thinking, that's that's sort of interesting. So many of the watch websites are terrible. They're hard to find stuff. They have all of this dancing baloney going on, a dreamy looking thing of some watch. You've seen that once. Okay, you get the idea. Going through it again, you just want to hit the back arrow or something. But this website, you guys might want to take a look at it just for the heck of it. But anyway, I it's like, what's going on? I my own self, I had one of the first watches I got. I mean, really high end watch. It was a Patek Philippe. There was some guy in Houston. He had a little outfit, and he was selling them. And I sent him the money. I wired it to him, and then I bit my nails for several days until I got the watch, and I did. That was just dumb luck. That guy, I don't know who he was. I had no idea, I mean, of his reputation or anything else. So I'm not immune from that. But when I see a hustle, and this looked like a hustle from day one, from 2017, the difference between, I mean, sure, also there's some hustle in every salesman. Anyway, so first of all, did any of you ever do business with this guy before he went started taking everybody's money? There's another thing. Any guy who is posting the videos of himself putting a bunch of money on the table. I think he had this one. It was $20,000. He put it on red or black on a roulette table and lost it, and acted like, look at me. I mean, what I saw was like, how dumb can you get? One of the best movies, I think, about gambling, Las Vegas style gambling, was a movie called Casino. And the thing about Casino was that they showed how, I mean, if you gamble enough, the house is always going to win. If you gamble enough, the odds are set up. That's why they have these elaborate buildings and all of these other things. They don't have it because they lose money. And it's, nobody, I don't think, wins forever on that. If you go into one, you drop a nickel or a quarter or whatever it is into a slot machine and hit the jackpot, walk out and go home, or go to the watch store and buy a watch with it. But anyway, okay, let's see what you guys have to say. Starting to buffer. Doggone it. Sorry about that. Anthony literally came out of prison and into selling watches. Yeah. This is the thing, though. This is what he went to prison for. He went to prison for more being a knothead than anything else. I think he had been busted for something. It was on probation, and he broke probation, so he goes to prison. I mean, that's you turn in something. You're on probation. You got a break. You behave yourself. Well, not this guy. He broke probation, so then he has to go to jail. And Canadian Watch Monkeys, you're right. He literally went out of one and went into the other. Hey, Stephen, how you doing, man? Truman, good to see you. Hustle is a dance move, right? Yeah, that's what it is, Truman. Let me recommend a watch seller for you. Hey, Rancher, I had 2 transactions with Marco. These guys were originally near me in Dallas, and both were satisfactory. Marco even helped me by pointing out some flaws in a watch bought by someone else. Okay, now Marco, I guess, is one of the guys who was part of this enterprise. Hi, Alex. I bought a stolen Rolex, and the Rolex was not returned after sending for service. That's no, that's no fun at all. I guess they have a list of stolen Rolexes, and if you send it in for service, they return it to the rightful owner. Anyway, yeah, here's the thing is that this, I suppose, is the temptation. You have to have I mean, you have a watch that's sent in for consignment. The seller pays for the watch to be sent in. You're not going to dump it into an envelope and send it in. It's going to cost you a few bucks. Then this guy has it and then sells it and sends you 95% of what he sold it for and keeps the 5% commission. If you have, I mean, and then when he sends it back or sends you the money, that probably doesn't cost too much, but it would cost something. So there's a very slim margin there. And but the question was, is the guy was like, he was not bragging, but like, hey, yeah, I was in prison, like I'm reformed or something like that. I don't know what it was, but his general knowledge, perhaps as Rancher pointed out, he may have, or somebody that worked with him knew something about watches, but I wasn't impressed with anything that he knew. Hey, HRM. They call it a summer camp for criminals. Okay. Let's see. Rolex doesn't share stolen lists with hard parties. Okay. Hey, Stephen. Let's see. Anthony came out of prison. He was a male escort, then went into watches. No judging, but this videos were all about the flex lifestyle. Yeah, no, Stephen, you're right. They were about this lifestyle, I guess. I didn't watch it. I had the other thing that's interesting is that people figured, well, he's got a suite on Rodeo Drive. That's not. I mean, you got an empty like a suite can just be a little office space with a telephone and doesn't have to be much or even cost that much. I this guy and I, we had years ago, this guy and I started a business making I was writing software and designing hardware interfaces for this robot. And so this guy and I got an office space in this really high-end building in San Diego. And it was because the building was just getting started and they gave us this really great deal. And it came with a conference room that was shared and a lot of things like that. So, we had a very Tony address for a couple of guys, who were, I was doing this software writing and somebody else was, and then the guy, the guy who was my partner, he took the production down to Tijuana, and they would put these cables together so that it could go into the robot, and then they could have the program that I wrote would make the robot do whatever tricks they wanted it to do. But the funny thing about it was that we were just like a couple guys in a pickup truck with a couple lawnmowers in the back. We were not a fancy business, but we had a very fancy address. And we only had we didn't have to impress anyone because there was this Japanese robot maker who had hired us, and we were making all of this stuff for different computers. Back then, I think there was a PC, what was called a PC Junior. We had one of the early Apples, a Commodore 64, and I think maybe an Atari or something like that. And so we were doing it for these different ones. We had a single customer. So I mean, it wasn't hard to have a fancy address, I found out. Third parties. Okay. That was a Freudian slip of all time. I agree. Oh, let's see. Anthony also had a half a dozen DUIs. Great character. Yeah, like I said, I mean, he wasn't. These things were more like sort of any redneck's criminal record for any redneck from Texas. It's not. On the other hand, I mean, he wasn't like involved in theft and a lot of other property crimes. He comes out and he does this. Here's the thing. This is the other end of it. He probably regrets it now, but apparently he seemed to have been doing okay for a while. He had set something up that seemed to be a workable, legitimate business. Maybe, again, since these are only allegations, maybe the whole thing was a big misunderstanding. Who knows? Hey, John. Recently, scammers take a false identification of well-known watch e-show representative, then through an e-site tell you that you've won X watch, actually expensive, then gradually say more money is needed. John, something happened to me the other day, and also to my wife, is that I got this thing and it says, they said it was from Amazon. I don't know why Amazon would pick me and my wife. We're just lucky, I guess. And then what we do is send them $1.95 for the expenses to send us, and we had won an iPhone 14. Okay. So what I'm thinking, oh boy, I want to, but then I stopped and wait a minute, hold on. It just was too good to be true and too easy. And I realized they're going to ask me for my credit card for that $1.95, and then poop, they can, go to town on the thing. Let's face it, it's not like we really have high expectations for Ron. Well, some of them you take for example, Gray and Son. They've been a jeweler for a long time. Then they started making a lot of money with watches, and so they've been doing more watches. And there are other companies like that are, at least as far as I know, as far as we know, up to date, have been are legit. But the difference, I think, is that this guy comes out of nowhere without that kind of background, and people say, oh, well, he must be great. I guess he was for a while. Crash 80. Richard, always dubious of people who give themselves the title of gentleman with this bloke. It was laughable. Yeah. I think that most of the people that fell for it, except for Rancher, he's too smart for that. were guys who saw this. That guy was like sort of a really good salesman. I'll put it that way. Not to me, but to some people. And then there was a legitimate part of it too. So, 2 life lessons learned here: don't trust a gambler or heavy drinkers. They can't even trust themselves. That's true. You got a guy with you got a gambling problem. I don't care who they are. You're going to lose money with them because they will gamble until they lose. I mean, it's like an addiction. So, let's see. HRM. He has been arrested by the FBI. If you haven't heard, yeah, no, that was the thing I was reading from the indictment that the Attorney General's office put out. in Central District of California. Yeah, it was an FBI case. See, the way we know it's FBI, this is the criminology side of me, is that it was a federal crime because wire fraud is across state lines. And wire fraud, interestingly, beside wiring money, also can mean using the mails for fraud. Hey, Alex Lee. I was neglecting another Rolex, but I didn't take off their bracelet, and the serial number was forcefully removed. Anyhow, with a previous experience, I don't service Rolex. What do you do? Keep the phony ones? I don't know. I think it'd be when I got my Patek Philippe, I sent into Patek Philippe and gave him all the information on the watch and had pictures of it and everything and sent it to him. And gee, must have taken them 6 months, but then they sent me this great archive record of it, all about my watch was first came out of the factory at 4th of July. So I got a Yankee Doodle dandy. I don't know. I have, to me, with my trusty laser printer, I could put in paperwork for just about anything. You want to know? You want their paperwork? Let me know. There are too many scams in recent years. I am located in Canada, by the way. Market is different now. Some people think the biggest scam in Canada is the 25% VAT. One of my Canadian friends was not too happy with that. Hi, Koji, how you doing? I have bought one watch through Gray and Sons. It was totally fine. Yeah, same here. I have total trust in them. I don't know why I bought a watch. I bought my overseas from Gray and Son. It went great. So I've always I'm if I have a good transaction, if I have one good transaction, I usually trust the rest, even though there's really probably not any reason to do so, especially given at least if what's true that was in the indictment with part of the affidavit that the Central District of California U.S. Attorney's Office sent out. Thing was legit, and like Rancher said, he had an interaction with him that was quite good. Hey, Joe, that's an interesting way to put it. When it's too good to be true, there's a rat involved. Yeah, that could, there's something to that. Hi, Britt, how you doing? Good morning. IHB. Some people are providing a service for the wealthy, see the lifestyle, and start to think it's a case of this. I guess the guy went out and bought a Lamborghini, and he mentioned the Ducati. I used to when I used to have a long time ago, I used to have this little thing that was really what it was a World War II courier motorcycle. I'd ride that thing around, but I had a couple friends who had Ducatis. Zoom, zoom. So, some people look at trappings of wealth as proof of competence. Others see the same thing as proof of overcharging. That's usually the latter on that. There are these guys. When I had a Rolls Royce, I was in the Rolls Royce Club, and there was different tiers. I was sort of, I guess, what was it called? The Silver Spur. We were sort of in a middle tier. I mean, they had these old, the old Silver Ghost and some of these classics. But then there was this one model that was relatively inexpensive, called this, had the greatest name. It's called the Silver Shadow. But the Silver Shadow was not one of their better models. And usually when I've seen advertisement, and there's some guy out there, well, buy from me, and he's leaning up against a silver shadow. Oh, the guy, he traded in his Toyota and got one of those things. And so it's I think when you have, as Rancher pointed out, the trappings of that, I think it's, you have to watch out for that. I think the most important thing to look for is experience. Of course, that doesn't always work. Somebody with a lot of experience suddenly gets a gambling problem, you're in hot water. But man, I thought that was a really interesting thing. The thing is, I think that was successful for as long as it was they didn't cheat for a while. He's making money, but he decided he wanted to really have this flashiness to it. I tell you one last thing. I guess my time is up. One last thing that I found, they talked about people who had successful small businesses. They had the least flashy car. They had, their car was, 4 or 5 years old. They had like a Ford station wagon or something very practical like that. And instead of something, like really, hachi. So anyhow, got to watch out for those things. Look, guys, I will be asking Rancher as usual, what would be a good topic for this afternoon for the 4 o'clock one? And thank you all for getting up so early and coming by. Some of you I know in Europe, you didn't have to get up early. And for some, if anybody's from Australia, it's already tomorrow. Take care. We'll see you. And don't take any wooden nickels.